Hello guys, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to do epoxy inlays. When I'm using inlays, I like to use templates. I just cut them in my laser cutting machine. And then I transfer them into the wood. I like to mark with a pencil the area, just leaving a little bit as possible for me to then use the router and smooth the edges and trim the edges. Because this is a square shape, you can just cut them to size. You don't need to do this step I'm doing, but I did it, so I'm just gonna show you how I did it. But yes, you can just cut it to size with machines because it's easy when there are straight lines, straight cuts. I use double-sided tape to attach the template to the wood. For me, it is more convenient than using clamps because then when I'm using my router, I don't have anything on the way. When I'm using templates, I like to use a bushing set. Because this design is small, I like to use a small flush trim bit. It is really tiny, but I first use the bushing set because that way I can take some of the material out, and then when I'm using the small bit, it has less material to remove so it doesn't break. So I just went ahead and did the same steps with the other two templates I'm using today because I'm doing 3 different designs with 3 different material templates. I still don't have a router table, so did this, I don't know, like a mock-off with some shelf that I had, and I'm just attaching it to the table I'm used to work with some clamps. It works for what I need. When I'm flush trimming the edges of solid wood, I like to use this compression bit. I have noticed that it is perfect to avoid kickback when you are using a router table. Look at that smooth finish. It's perfect. I use 3 different materials with the template to show you that if it has around 6 millimeter, all different materials will work the same. I use acrylic, I use basswood, and I use plywood, construction plywood. Be careful when removing the template because you don't want to ruin your work. So now let's move into putting the resin into the design. I just prepare the resin as the manufacturing instruction is really easy, so you just follow it. In my case, I have to pour 1:1 ratio of resin and hardener. Make sure that the resin is properly mixed. I decided to use black ink for the resin because I wanted to show a high contrast between wood and the resin. Make sure before you start pouring your resin that you do a clear coat of sealer before. That way you avoid that the resin bleed outside of the design. And when powdering, it is always better to pour more resin than sulfate level because for some reason when it's set, it goes down and then it doesn't work. Oops, I run out of resin. I will have to pour more just for 1 liter. So try not to do that. Again, try to overflow the resin. I will show you later what happened to me. I use a heat gun to pop the bubbles that are forming at the surface of the resin. Also, some people use alcohol. I haven't tried it. Maybe next time. Here comes the part I don't like, which is sanding. because it takes so long to sand that resin down. So yes, overflow the resin when you're powering it, but don't no like too much, because then it will just take you longer for you to make it flat. I first sand the resin where the resin is a little bit, but making sure that I'm not making wave in my wood. After I remove the majority of the resin, I make sure that I am sanding the whole length of the wood, just to make sure that it is flat and that I am not damaging the surface of the wood. So if you see here, this is how you want this resin to be, overflowing. Contrary to here, where I will see, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, that it went down below the surface, so down. This one is not good for me to sand right now at the moment, so I will have to pour more resin into it. Okay. So no. So now I finished by doing a 45-degree chamfer, a small one, because I don't know, I just feel it looks better, it looks more polished. And then this is how it looks, the end result. I promised you some bonus. Here it is. It is the same design but using the engraver. Here it is. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos to come.